Anyway, so welcome to Talkin Trades with Randy Beall, who is the business manager for the Atlanta, North Georgia Building Trades. And today I wanted to have you on as a guest, not only as a co-host, but as a guest to talk about the building trades in general. I think that a lot of people don't know all of the good work that the Atlanta, North Georgia Building Trades Council does under your leadership. And I wanted to kind of just get a thumbnail sketch of what you're working on currently, and what the organization is, what you're working on currently, and what you see, moving forward from here. Is that a fair question to ask you?
It is.
What is it that the Atlanta North Georgia Building Council is charged to do?
Yeah, and so let me back up a little bit. So I'm a 33-year member of the Sheet Metal Workers, and as a rank and file member, from 1988 till 2001, before I became an organizer, that was 13, 14 years, I could not tell you what the building trades did. So I know if fellow brothers and sisters out there listen to this, they really don't know what we do. And it's not their fault. It's just the culture. They go to their union meetings. They're there to talk about their business. So, for the first 14 years, I didn't even know I know I participated in a parade they had one time. But other than that, I didn't know what they did. But when I became an organizer, and then even more so when I became a business rep, it's when I started to attending meetings, I realized what the function of the building trades was. And to sum it up in a mission statement, and then we'll get deeper, but our job is to act on behalf of our affiliates in business and political nature in the construction industry. So anything business and political when it relates to construction, we're going to try to be involved. That's our mission statement, and that takes on a lot of different facets, right?
That's part business, part politics, part community, et cetera. Yeah,
it's broad.
Yeah,
it's broad.
So, what kind of, in terms of business, like what? Can you give me an example of a project that you're currently working on that would give somebody an idea of what the building trades is currently doing?
Yeah. So I'll give you a few. So and where we're relative and why it doesn't work for the business managers to do what I'm doing. I'll give you all of that. So first thing I'll give you is like Teamsters building. They're building a brand new union hall down right down the road here near Lakewood.
Yeah.
And they called me and said, "Hey, look, this is not our forte. We're transportation people. They represent UPS, 12,000 members. Would you come and sit in on our meeting with our construction manager to make sure they're being upfront, being honest, being whatever?" Absolutely, be happy to do that. So I went in and I listened to the documents, and I listened to everything that's going on in the construction and the lingo they used. It kind of explained it. Played mediator almost, if you would. Maybe that's not the right terminology. I played the interpreter. Even though everybody was speaking English, some was talking technical, and was able to convey to the Teamsters what was going on. And then they started talking about the union labor versus non-union. And the construction manager that was in there at the time, no fault of theirs, their job is to win a bid.
Yeah.
That's their job. So they came with the lowest price. And I want to say that was about $8.5 million to build their building. The Teamsters wanted to know, what does it look like if we do it union? It was $11 million. It's $2.5 million. So, if you're a union member out there, and think about your own union, if you're building a building, of course you want to build it union, but of course it takes money. Right. So we're a $2.5 million, in that particular instance, an upcharge, if you will. So I had the Teamsters president come into a business managers meeting. We talked about that. We had business managers committing to calling their contractors to see if they could tighten up the number a little bit. Just show that we were putting forth a good effort, right? I was able to cut a little bit of that as well, not because I have any contract, just by talking to the construction manager and some areas. For instance, they were at a 60% number at $8.5 million. When they brought back the union number at 11, they're at an 85% number. Now, what that means to me is you had 60% of the information to create a bid at $8.5 million. If you'd have done it at 85%, what would your number have been?
Right.
And the reality was we wasn't a $2.5 million spread. It was about $1.5 million spread. Does that make sense?
It does.
So they use 65% draw-ins to get one number, 85% draw-ins to get another. Well, that's not a fair comparison. So let's do it the right way. So that was one thing we were able to interject and realize.
You were able to hold their feet to the fire in terms of like comparing apples to apples.
You got it.
Right.
And then the managers stepping up and doing what they did. And I don't know what they were able to cut, but here's what I can tell you. By bringing them into the managers' meeting and the managers having that conversation of just, we'll do what we can and we'll help you where we can and yada, 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 they committed to building that building 100% union where union contractors had bid. Now, we had some trades that were not interested. Can't do anything about that.
Right.
But it was very few. And so 95% of that work will be done union on that job, which is huge. And we played a big role in getting it. And I want to say, obviously, the Teamsters' commitment to building it union also played a huge role. But us just being at the table and helping them along showed that, we're here to help you.
I feel like there's a misconception that this word union is this cohesive term that everybody in the union knows what everybody else in the union is doing. And that's not the case. It can't possibly be the case. You've got business managers for what, 14 different affiliates?
Absolutely.
And they're working with their own contractors.
Right.
They got their own members. They got their own issues. They got their own stuff that they're trying to get across, et cetera. There's no possible way that one business manager can possibly know what's going on in construction in all of the unions.
They're focused on their trade.
Right.
And then go a step further, and I'll give you two more examples of what the building trades does. But I'll say this first. You elect a business manager at a union to do certain things. Negotiate your contract. When I was elected as a representative, my business manager brought me in, and this is what he told me. He said, we're here, your number one priority is to get ready for the next negotiation. That is our biggest call, is to be ready for the next negotiation. Your second duty is to enforce the contract we have in place and represent the members.
Yeah.
Your next thing is to take care of them and any other need they may have, no matter if it's family or whatever it may be. So the role of these business managers and business reps is to negotiate, to enforce, to work on the health and welfare program, which is insurance, and pension plans. And let's just say that health and welfare, the insurance, is one of the biggest time consumers out there, because a member always has a problem with a claim, or I went to the doctor, this wasn't covered, or hey, is this covered? And then it gets even deeper in that when a member comes in and says, I have cancer. What do I do now? And then it takes a whole different form, right? So business managers and reps don't have time to do what I did with the Teamsters.
Yeah.
And by the way, conversely to that, I'll give you another example. The Teamsters aren't going to make 14 phone calls.
Yeah.
Matt Hignan, the president of the Teamsters, he isn't going to call the UA, the IBW, the sheet metal, the plasters. He wants one call.
Yeah.
We're not Ken Nugent, but one call.
Well, I mean, he doesn't have
right?
time for that. He's got a local to run.
He has a local
Right.
to run. And so one call to the building trades, he gets all the trades on that business and political interest thing. Another example, was sitting in my office and I got a phone call from Steve Koonin of the Hawks, CEO of the Hawks. This is about a year and a half ago. He says, hey, I'd like for you to come up and meet me at my office. I'm like, okay, great. I'd love to do that. So I went up, and he's got a really nice office there, overlooking the arena, and a lot of Hawks stuff in there, of course, but that's okay. I'm a Hawks fan, so it works. But he wanted to talk to me about the Gulch.
In Nashville?
No, the Gulch.
No, the Gulch here. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The Gulch, yeah. That's cool. No, the Gulch here in Atlanta, the proposed $5 billion worth of work that is going to happen right here in Atlanta, right? And so I said, okay, what do you want to know? He says, well, look, it's going to come before the Atlanta City Council, and I'd like to know if you would come down. We understand there's going to be opposition. Would you go down and speak on behalf of the building trades and the construction work and how that would affect the local community? And I said, absolutely. What's in it for you? Why am I in your office going to talk about the Gulch?
Yeah.
So I find out that his brother is a part owner of CIM, the developer that is going to develop the Gulch. Of course, I said, happy to go talk about that. I'd love to have a meeting with CIM too. And that resulted in me having months-long conversations with the first vice president of CIM, Robert Samuels, and talking about project labor agreements and talking about the union's role in the Gulch. Of course, I went down to the city council. We talked. There was opposition there.
From
different people in the community that didn't think of the many things. That it wasn't enough community involvement. Wasn't going to be. It was taking homes or jobs or whatever, So there was opposition there, pushing pretty hard. In fact, some of it had to be thrown out.
So opposition in terms of the development itself,
yes,
irrespective of union or non-union or whatever.
Right. Think about when the Mercedes came in and how the West End was a lot of homes and businesses disrupted and gone, right? You had those factors.
Churches too.
Yeah, churches too. That's right. So anyway, we're there to talk about one thing. I'm there to discuss one element of that, and that is jobs, construction jobs.
Yeah.
That's all I care about. Randy might have an opinion outside of that, outside of my job, but when I'm there on behalf of my job, it's jobs.
Yeah.
That's it. And so we make the argument, it passes city council. I'm not saying because I spoke on it, but we did what we said we would do. They said what they said they would do. And so that resulted in a conversation with Robert Samuels and talking about that. It's still going on today. And, we're gonna continue that conversation. And hopefully when the work starts to come our way and projects that we would do, maybe we don't get a project labor agreement. Those are hard to get. I can't remember the last one the council had previous to my administration, other administrations, but we might have a real good understanding that it's going to be union labor. We don't have a PLA on the Teamsters building either. They're going to build it 95% union, So that's one example. Another example is I got a phone call in my office from MGM Resorts. All right, and I don't owe them money from gambling or anything like that, but I got a phone call from them, and it's their attorney representing the casinos. And he wants to know if the building trades will go down and speak before the committee at the State House on the casino bill, specifically where it comes to the jobs related to construction and what it meant for the economy from that perspective. Of course, I'll go speak. How about let's have a conversation about what a project labor agreement looks like and union labor on these projects are. How many projects? Well, and he said, well, in Vegas, we have a great relationship with the unions. All of our projects are built union. That's good. Well, what about when you come to Georgia?
Yeah.
What's that look like?
Yeah.
Very open to the conversation, no guarantees, but they understand that, one hand scratches the other or however you want to say it, so they'll talk about that and it's open, it's on the table. So then 2 days later, I get a phone call from Caesars Entertainment attorney. Wants the same thing. Now, I'm sure those two are talking.
Yeah.
But I get the same phone call. I have the same conversation. So I go and speak at the committee on the casino bill. Well, before I go in to do my speech, I'm out in the hallway and I meet Ed Clark. Ed Clark was the president of the Atlanta Motor Speedway. He's since retired, but still actively involved. Ed has had on this construction market data website a $1 billion, that's with a B, resort at the Atlanta Motor Speedway ready to go when that bill gets passed. Now, understand the steps of that bill is
that bill being the
casino
legalized
bill.
casino gambling
Right.
bill.
And they don't have the power to do that. I think it's important for people to know this.
They being
The legislature.
Okay.
They only have the power. That's a constitutional issue in Georgia. We don't allow gambling. Or that form of gambling.
Yeah.
I guess we allow lottery. Yeah. I think that's gambling. But anyway,
yeah, for sure.
A little double standard. They get all the money for that. But anyway, the legislature can only put it on the ballot for constitutional change for us, the citizens, to vote on. Wow, what a concept. We actually can control our own destiny there, right?
Yeah.
My question is, why is it taking 3 years to get to us?
Yeah.
Shouldn't it be our right to vote on that? Give it to us. Why are they holding it up?
Yeah.
But another story another time. But I mean, we need the right to vote on that.
But if MGM and Caesars is calling you, it's front boilerplate.
Absolutely, yeah. And that hasn't made it outside of committee yet. How about that? And they've been in here lobbying for 3 years.
Yeah.
Now, lobbying extends beyond, and I encourage all members and anyone in the public to look this up. Go follow the money and see how much casinos have given to Republican legislators, campaigns, to try to get that bill out of committee.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money moving around, okay? Now,
is that the same on both sides of the aisle?
It probably is Democratic as well, but it seems to be a little more accepted on the Democratic side of the aisle. The conservative side, the Christian base, which I am one, they toe a little bit different line, and so they're fighting. I'm going to put in quotations, fighting it a little more.
Yeah.
I honestly believe they're just trying to gain more money out of the coffers. You want to know the truth? In my opinion, that's what I think. I don't speak for them, but I'll tell you what I see.
Right.
So I went up and spoke, met Ed Clark. Ed was really happy to see building trades there, and we developed a relationship. Now, Ed Clark isn't just the former past president of Atlanta Motor Speedway. He's got ties with a lot of people. So, these opportunities to speak and these opportunities to meet people like Ed and be on the same team, our name now gets talked about when he's in his inner circles of Coca-Cola, UPS, Georgia Pacific, you name the company, the Fortune 500 companies in Atlanta, that's who he's speaking to.
Yeah.
When you drive, I don't drive around the raceway, they do, but when you go down there and look around at all those advertisers paying millions of dollars, that's who he's speaking to.
Yeah.
It puts us in a good light that we're there advocating for these construction jobs to be unionized. And I want to say this, I think it's interesting to bring this up. Right before I spoke was a casino person speaking. And I don't remember, it wasn't MGM or Caesars. It was another entertainment group. But they spoke, and I take that back. It might have been MGM. But anyway, they were asked a question by a Republican legislature person that I won't say their name because it doesn't really matter. But he asked a question I thought was an unusual question. He said, how many of these jobs in a casino are unionized? And Rudd, I don't think he was asking that because he cared that they were. I think he wanted to know so it would be his reason to not agree and go along.
Interesting.
Because the answer that was given was, well, in parts of the country, they're very heavily unionized. Mm-hmm. And his response was, what about Georgia? And he said, well, Georgia's a different climate. And I think that's what he was looking for. I don't think they want union jobs in Georgia. I don't think that's what they want. So when I came up to speak, that was the last question asked. So when I came up, I took the opportunity because I thought it was a good opportunity. And I told the chairman, I said, Chairman, if you would allow me, I'd like to address the gentleman's question that he asked the previous guest. And he said, sure, go ahead. And I said, we should all hope that every one of those jobs are unionized.
Right.
Because if they are unionized, they're going to make more money. Mm-hmm. They're going to come off the government assistance.
Have better benefits.
They're going to have benefits. They're going to come off TANF and other programs that Georgia funds taxpayers. So we should all hope that they are unionized. He didn't have a response for that.
What was his response?
It was silence. Silence, yeah. Because I made an argument that he could not go against.
Yeah. Because
he's a person that doesn't like freebies, right? He don't like government benefits.
Right.
But I just answered how to get them off. So how to get them off of them. So how is he going to be against that?
Yeah.
I put him in a corner that he couldn't wiggle out of in that moment.
Yeah.
So the best response is to be quiet. But anyway, that's a few instances of and you think about, okay, well, if you're a member out there and you say, well, my business manager could do the same thing. Absolutely they can. They can go speak before any committee just like I do. They're not going to get the phone call.
Yeah.
The attorneys and Steve Koonin of the Hawks and Ed Clarks of the world aren't going to take time to make 14 different phone calls to 14 different business managers.
Yeah.
They want to make one call to catch everybody.
Yeah.
That, you know, and I'm glad they take the time to make the one call, but they're not going to call 14.
So if we could pivot for a second, you mentioned government benefits. I wanted to ask you opinion on Governor Kemp essentially has come out and said, look, I think at the end of July maybe, that the unemployment benefits are going away. And that brings a whole maelstrom of questions that I have. You know, we're having difficulty filling job calls now. How does that affect things from a union member perspective, just and a generally in the Atlanta market? How does that affect things if that comes to fruition? I'm guessing it is.
Yeah. So I'll give you two sides of that, and one is I don't think it solves the short-term issue of skilled labor. And the reason I say that is because I don't think there's enough people out there that are skilled labor that are drawing benefit. However, where I do see it, but I want to circle back to that. And there's a reason why we have a skilled labor shortage. And I met with some of the governor's people yesterday, and I'll tell you about that. But yesterday, my wife and I tried to have dinner at 4:00 at an Olive Garden. It was a 45-minute wait. It's Thursday, 4:00.
Wow. Just
right?
because they didn't have enough staff?
Staffing. It wasn't, I mean, yes, it's COVID related, but it was totally staffing issue.
Right.
So, and I don't want to call those people non-skilled because I can't do what a waiter and a waitress does. You know, I don't have the patience nor the talent to do that, but it's certainly not a skilled trade within the building construction trades. But I definitely think it affects that kind of work, 100%. I think when they remove that, maybe people come back to work. Now, I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing. I don't know everybody's situation. You know, are they caring for an elderly parent? And if they get COVID, does the parent then die because they got, you know what I mean, they passed it along? I'm in that situation.
Or if they have children.
Or you know, I mean, you just don't know, right? So I don't ever want to say, you know, I wouldn't want to say that it's good or bad because I don't know everybody's circumstance. But I will say that I do believe to a point, and the governor's right, it has hindered people from returning back to the workforce to a certain degree. I do agree with that. But and there are jobs out there in the union in the retail sector, they're not offering their jobs back yet. Well, what are they going to do? You know, I mean, they're used to making whatever it is a week, let's say $1,000 a week, and you know now they've been getting maybe 800, whatever the number is, 600, I think. Now you're going to cut that to 350. It's not that they can't go back to work or won't go back to work. They can't go back because their retail hasn't started back up yet. So that's a problem, right? So I think, as with a lot of government programs, I don't think programs are the problem. It's the implementation and the enforcement of programs. Does everybody out there right now need that supplement? No. Do they need to look at it on a case by case? Yes. That's my opinion. And I kind of feel the same way about the checks that we were all given. You know, whether you were working or not, you know, you got a check for you and your wife of X amount of dollars. Why?
Right.
Why did I get that check? Why do we need to run debt up further? Didn't make sense to me, right? Give it to someone who needed it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing okay. I worked. So I just don't understand those kind of things. But to circle back to the skill thing, so I met with the governor's team yesterday, the policy directors and our policy advisors. And we give a lot of businesses a lot of tax breaks to come to Georgia. And I'm not against that. That's fine. That creates jobs. Now, I'm against a few things like, why did we build a Kia plant 15 miles from the Alabama line, and when you go down there and look at tags, 50% of them are for Alabama? I don't like that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not why that you give people tax money. You give them money so we can put Georgians to work. That makes sense. But always, and if you listen to the governor speak, I don't care if it's Kemp or Deall or Purdue or whoever it might be, when they talk about these jobs and tax incentives, the next words out of their mouth is it's going to create 1,000 jobs. They're talking manufacturing.
Yeah.
All right. So we're talking about some of the lowest paying jobs there are. I mean, sometimes they can pay $17, $18, which sounds like a lot of money, but keep in mind the cost of living in Atlanta is $26 an hour. You can't live in the city of Atlanta without government assistance for under $26 an hour. I was on Keisha Lance Bottom's transition team. That's the number that we came up with, not us, but the professionals, that what it takes to live and work in city in Atlanta. Obviously, that would go down a little bit outside, but, this is my point about that. So I'm glad we're creating manufacturing jobs. That's awesome. But where the real jobs are is in the construction. So my ask of the policy team is to take this to the governor. And I think it makes a lot of sense. Hey, Company A, we're going to give you $400 million to come build in Georgia. And thank you for helping us create 1,000 manufacturing jobs. That's great. But in addition to that, to be eligible for this money, we have been trying to get apprenticeships going in Georgia. Governor's been talking about it. They think it's a new thing. We've been
years, yeah.
We've been doing it 100 years.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden they think it's new. So here's the caveat. If you're going to build that plant in Georgia and get this tax breaks, you have to do business with contractors that have registered apprenticeship programs.
Yes.
Now, what have you done? That doesn't mean just union. There are non-union companies that have registered apprenticeship programs to the Department of Labor. So I'm not trying to squeeze them into a rat hole. What I am trying to do is you push an apprenticeship, and we say there's a lack of skilled labor, but we invite people in and give them money to come to Georgia, and we don't create a pathway for people to go to work and get an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
To me, it makes sense. And so I told them that. I said, I think that would be good policy. And of course, they asked about cost and all that. And I said, well, if you're not comfortable with that, let's do it. Let's look at one other way. When I was in Henry County, I went to the Board of Education, and I was able to successfully get them to do a 10%, might have been 15% rule, meaning if you were going to do a construction job for Henry County and you lived in the county, your construction company was housed in the county, you got a 10 or 15% break on the bid. So if you're out of the county and I'm in the county and you're low bid, but I'm within 15%, I get to work. To me, that stuff makes sense. Mm-hmm. That's Henry County money going to Henry County people.
Yeah.
And Henry County business. So why don't we do that on a state level? Why don't we, if you want apprenticeships to work, then make companies invest in companies that have apprenticeships.
And structure request for proposal stuff and bid ordinances and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So as to reward people who do.
Absolutely. Registered apprenticeship program. So I thought that was a good ask. I don't think that's a hard lift. I think it makes sense, especially since the governor's office is pushing apprenticeships.
So some months ago, maybe kind of pre-COVID, there was an effort around during the Trump administration around RAPs. Registered IRAPs. That's right, IRAPs.
Yeah,
which was kind of the private sector's way of the non-union way of getting around that.
Yep.
Is that still something going on or what?
So IRAPs was industry recognized apprenticeship programs.
Yeah.
Terrible idea.
Yeah.
Terrible idea. And Biden has done away with that. So IRAPs, if they haven't already started, they're done.
Yeah.
Now, the ones that started, I guess, are still in play. But the reason it's a terrible idea is that, there's so much, you got to tie it into where they get money from. So WIOA, Workforce Initiative, whatever. It's WIOA funding is how people get their money to train people.
Yeah. That's
free money, but it's taxpayer money. So all of a sudden, with IRAPs, Randy can start a company, and let's say we're gonna wrap utensils with a napkin for a restaurant. But I'm gonna make an apprenticeship program for that, because if I do, I can become an industry recognized apprenticeship program. Now I can go get money from the government to show somebody how to wrap utensils with a napkin.
Yeah.
Wow, I have just moved the world, haven't I? And so, you know,
as opposed to the more well-rounded union crafts where they have a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year apprenticeship program where someone learns. Yes, someone learns from the ground up how to become a pipe fitter or an electrician or whatever, from soup to nuts.
Absolutely, and I'm not. And there are industries out there that could benefit. You know, how to rebuild a small engine. If you got a small engine, you know, company, lawnmower, whatever, golf cart, whatever, and you want to start an industry recognized apprenticeship program on how to rebuild it, I'm all for that. That's a skill. That's a skill.
Yeah.
But sitting on workforce boards, I see a lot of monies spent to apprenticeship programs that are useless.
Yeah.
Just recently, we had one on our board in Atlanta that the company came and I won't mention the company name, but the company came and they wanted to do forklift training, 40 hours, $6,000 a participant. And the outcome was to get a job, because they have to tell us the outcome, $13 to $15 an hour. Now, when you're in Atlanta, Atlanta WorkSource has to service Atlanta people. What did I say just a few minutes ago?
$26 an hour.
$26 an hour. So as a board member, I had enough. I serve as a chair on the youth committee on this board. I'm on the executive board on that. I couldn't stand it anymore, and I've kept my mouth shut too long. So when it came time for discussion, I said I'm opposed, and they want to know why. And I said, very simple. Let me get this right. We're going to pay this company $6,000 per participant to train them to take a job that will keep them on government benefits. Just think about that.
Yeah. Almost like corporate welfare kind of.
It's corporate welfare.
Yeah.
Right. And makes zero sense to me. And so I'm moving that committee more and more to, look, if you got to start at 15, but you have a pathway to 26, I'm behind you 100%.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you have to be union. It means you have to have a pathway to get there.
Yeah.
And you know, those kind of things have to be addressed, and we've got to stand up.
Yeah.
And point them out.
I feel like that's a misconception. Like when you see a first-year apprentice wage in any given craft, I feel like people don't see the long game there. You know, if you're making $17 an hour doing something else because that's more than the first-year apprenticeship, they don't take into consideration that 5 years later they're making $17 an hour. And the apprenticeship is now a journeyman and making in the 30s or 40s, right?
Absolutely.
Plus all the benefits and all of the retirement and pension and all that stuff that 5 years is like that.
You know, and I've long held this philosophy when I was organizing. I'll always be an organizer. Once you're an organizer, it's in your blood.
Yeah.
The magic number has always, in my mind, for skilled crafts, been around, at one time it was been 16, but now it's more like 19 to 20, 18 to 20. And I think manufacturing is in that $16 to $18. And I say the magic number. What does that really mean? The magic number is the number that I as an employer get you at that you can't afford to leave because you have a house, a car, a marriage, a kid, and you're scraping by, and I know it.
Yeah.
But that means you're really held captive.
Yeah.
I've got you right where I want you. You know, I remember a contractor years and years ago telling me, he was asking about somebody he wanted to hire, and he said, well, tell me a little bit about him. And I said, what do you want to know? He said, well, is he married? I said, I think so. He said, kids? I said, look, why does that matter? He said, Randy, the best employees are those that are married, got a house, a car, 2 kids.
Yeah.
They can't afford not to come to work.
Yeah.
Well, I think non-union and open shop and just the business in general, they get people to that magic number. And you said it, the person might even can see the benefit of backing up to go forward, but how do they do it? How do I go with a house note, a car note, and the kids from $19 an hour to $15 an hour so I can go make $30 an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see the picture, and I know where you want to take me.
Meanwhile, I've got this gap between.
What do I do?
Yeah.
You know, and so.
So what do you do?
You know, what I've told people in the past is, man, I know this ain't the right answer, and this ain't what you want to hear, but you go get another job. You have a second job. and you're going to work that second job for about a year and a half. By then, your union wage will have been called up to $19 an hour because it gets there in a hurry.
Yeah.
You know, we're on scheduled raises. It's the benefit of a contract. Where you're at now, you just got to promise.
Yeah.
That next year we'll look at it. They don't even tell you what they're going to give you. We'll just look at it, right?
Yeah.
Well, we know what's coming. I can show you in the book what's going to happen to you, and it's going to happen quick. Me, as I was an apprentice and I had to do this, I worked 2 jobs. I worked in the sheet metal shop, 6 to 2:30. I worked at Smart Cart at the airport pulling luggage carts from 4 o'clock till midnight.
Wow.
3 days a week. So I was getting home at 1:30, getting back up, going back to the sheet metal shop at 6 a.m. So I know it works.
Yeah.
It just, people have to be committed to do it. But that magic number is, I always hate when I'm talking to somebody and they're at that number.
Yeah.
Because I know that, I know they got bills. Yeah, well, and they're making it. It's a struggle, but they're making it.
Yeah.
It's a hard issue. But I think if these opportunities on these giveaway programs were given these corporations, if there were more jobs available through what I just said, changing policy to do business only with people who have registered apprenticeship programs, creates a pathway where people can see it's even more prevalent, right? That they can get in and it can be done. So I guess what I'm saying is I want the administration to put their money where their mouth is.
So, as a dovetail to wrap this up, I feel like one of the things that doesn't get touted enough. First of all, I feel like the conversation around skilled trades, learning a skilled trade as an alternative to college, I think that message is getting out. What I don't think is getting out that you guys do a great job of is when a young person slips up, makes a mistake, there feels like there's no option for them. And this youth build program that you guys put together is fantastic. We've done stories on youth build members that have come from hard scrabble backgrounds and are making it, learning the skills that they need to learn to become accredited journeyman, et cetera. Can you address that for a minute on the building trades role in that and how important that is for all of the crafts?
Yeah, I will, and then I want to tie something else into that I spoke to the governor's office about yesterday because I think it makes a difference. So just put your mindset in a young person, and it doesn't matter where they're from, but city of Atlanta, let's just look at really what the case is. And we know this because we have them enrolled in our school, our Youth Build Academy. Most of them are going to come from broken homes. Most are going to come from where at least one parent is incarcerated, if not both. We have students that both parents are incarcerated, and the student is under 18, 17 years old.
Yeah.
We take them from 16 to 24. So they're living with an aunt and an uncle or somebody in the family. And most of them drop out of school because what have they been preached? College, 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 college.
Yeah.
They're not going to college.
Right.
Not because they're not capable. They don't want to.
Yeah.
All right. So yesterday with the governor's office, the other policy that I wanted them to look at is other states have done this. The same curricula that we teach at Youth Build, it's called MC3. It's a 120-hour construction training. The curriculum was created by NAB2, North America's Building Trades Unions, and all of their affiliates. So it's our accredited program. The Department of Labor has blessed it. It's a real legitimate program. So I asked the policy directors, I'd like for the governor to make a proposal to the legislature, to the school boards, or whoever it has to go to do what other states have done. And I named those states: California, Michigan, Minnesota, Illinois. I think there's a couple more as well. Not all Democratic ran, by the way. A couple were Republican ran. And they instituted the MC curricula in the high school. Now, what does that mean? Now you can introduce to these young people there is another path. And by the way, if they do MC3, when they get out of high school, in this area, and I know this is that way in those areas, it's direct entry into the apprenticeship program.
Yeah.
So now they're getting in. They can see a pathway, right? The other beautiful thing about it is it doesn't take away from their normal learning because you can do MC3 online now. So they could actually enroll, do it at home, report back to the teacher, show progress at their whoever is in charge, whatever teacher they put in charge of the school. And so the teacher has very little role in it, but they're getting the training. So I think about that as a good way to stop people from dropping out of high school or getting out of high school and getting in debt at a college. So I'll segue that into the Youth Build program. 16 to 24, we're taking in people that some have finished school, some have their diploma, but we're here to get them their training, and if they don't have a GED, we give them a GED. And I say we get them, they earn it, right? I mean, they have to earn it. We have an education manager on staff that their job is to do the teaching, get their math skills, their English and history, whatever they need to pass that test. And we give them assessments to see where they're at. Generally, we can get them up 2 grades. Well, we indicates I had a hand in it. Kabir, our education manager, can get them up 2 grades. And so that's one element. Then we give them construction training. Jeremy Fulbright, our construction manager, gives them MC3, hands-on. We did a tour yesterday of the IBW up in Rome. So we're going to give them the hands-on and let them see what the trades are all about. It's a 6-month program. They have to be committed. We don't just take anybody. We have over 225 applicants. We've taken in 35. It's because they have to make it through a mental toughness to even get in.
Yeah.
So, you have to make sure people are going to show up.
Yeah.
So that the mental toughness isn't to keep them out. It's to show them that this ain't a play game.
Right.
We're not here to just take the
set expectations as to what's expected of them on the job on a daily basis in order to be able to do this.
When they go to work, they got to go to work. Right. So anyway, good program there. It's great. But there's also other hurdles that we've been able to close I'm really proud of. And that is when you deal with the element of people living in the inner city, you realize that transportation is an issue. 5 years ago, if you'd have told me, hey, this young person don't have a driver's license, my response would have said, tell them to go get it.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I mean, it sounds pretty easy. But then when you really get involved and you meet the people and you see what's going on, mom and dad don't have a car. Again, they may be locked up. Right. The aunt and uncle don't have a car. They're living in the city too. Their whole family and the structure has been dependent upon public transportation.
Yeah.
Well, you can do all the training in the world.
You can't get to a job site when up from MARTA.
That's right. I told our board, and so here's what's weird about the grant. The grant allows us to do all the construction training we want. We built a weld center, wood stuff. We can do all those things, but we cannot get them a driver's license. It's ridiculous. So I went to my board, the board of the building trades, and I said, we got a problem. We've got a great program. We're going to change lives. We're going to change generations, but we need driver's license.
Yeah.
So they committed $1,500 a month. It's a 48-month program. $80,000, whatever that number is, off to $70,000, to make sure everybody that comes through our program has a driver's license. We then got a service to make that happen. They actually get their training in the classroom and behind the wheel. They take the test with the company, and then they just take their certificate down to get their license. That's great. That's one hurdle. Now we're over. But then we had transportation. So then that's where we came up with the idea of Full Wheels for Work. And that was a program that I put in with the academy. And, it's there to help provide a vehicle for those outstanding students. We can't do it for everybody. Outstanding students that are wanting to go to work and make a difference. So far, we've given away 2 vehicles. One of them was Ibrahim Yamini. And we couldn't have done that without Akins Ford. Akins Ford out there in Winder, they gave us the car, and we were able to give the car on. And so Brad and his team out there, terrific people, and want to make a difference. And Ibrahim has been with the plumbers and pipe fitters for about 6 months now. Our next one was Xavier Klutz, and Xavier is now working with IBW 613. And again, that was made possible by donations from the Teamsters, IBW 613, Brad Akins, and other people on our board and other ways to get money, right? And so that happened. And then the last element of that was, well, if they can't afford a license or get a license and can't get a car, what do they do about insurance? Yeah. So I came up with insuretheride.com, and that is paying their insurance for 3 months. We're going to give them the jump start. which don't sound like a lot, but I want to give you this example because we need more people to be involved with these two programs. We need more sponsors. Insurance for a 21-year-old that lives in Fulton County on a 2012 vehicle of modest means, right? This compact car. 3 months of liability only, $1,200.
Wow.
6 months, $2,400, right? Do the math. Now think about that. If you're making $15 an hour,
Yeah.
great money for apprenticeships, but all of a sudden you got to make a $300 or $400 a month is car
Yeah,
insurance.
just to drive to the job site.
How about that?
Yeah.
So a real need there, and I'm happy we're being able to meet those needs. It's making a real impact. We've got really good young men and women, some who have been incarcerated themselves. I like to say that I serve a God of second chances and a union of second chances, and third and fourth and fifth. So, we're here to help in the community, help these people do what they want to be off the government. They want to be in a career. Yeah. We want to be here to be the bridge for them to do it.
You're working on a lot of important stuff, on Capitol Hill and in the business community, and I know that I'm glad that the members get to hear what the Building Trades Council does and what you do as a business manager for that unit, and I appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Rudd. I appreciate it. And thanks to all the building trades brothers and sisters out there that get up every day, go to work, earn a living, get their benefits, but they also make contributions to the building trades to keep us going, to do the work on their behalf that we do. So a special thanks to them as well.
Thank you, and we're out.